May peace be upon you, fellow Earthlings, glad you're here. Today we'll make a little detour and look into Buddhism. Well, I say detour, but inshallah we'll look into every faith, each in its own time. And probably we'll return many times to Buddhism. Inshallah, I even want to talk to an expert. But yeah, recently I've been looking quite a few videos about Buddhism and I picked a few of them here, which I wanted to check out with you guys. So let's start right away.
Namo Buddhaya. In Buddhism, there is a practice called Sila. Sila is the way of self-discipline and moral conduct and virtuous behavior. So let's talk about Sila from this video. So fundamentally, all Buddhists practice 5 precepts. These 5 precepts are abstaining from killing beings, abstaining from stealing, abstaining from sexual misconduct, abstaining from telling lies, and abstaining from using intoxicating drinks and drugs. So these are the 5 precepts that all laymen and laywomen practice. And on Poya days or full moon,
that was already everything that I wanted to watch in this video. There is multiple videos in general. This channel, Buddhism, is pretty nice. If you're interested into Buddhism, I feel he's done a lot of videos and he explains it pretty well. Well, I can't judge, but it feels like he explains it pretty well. Yeah, from here you see that killing, stealing, intoxicants, lying, and sex out of marriage is forbidden in Buddhism. In general, as far as I know, celibacy is preferred in Buddhism. So it's overall, it's not even out of marriage, it's just preferred celibacy. And I suppose strongly that if anything, then in a marriage. But this is a supposition. We'll look into that when the time comes, inshallah, because now I'm curious. But yeah, let's go on. This is pretty similar to Islam, actually. But we have all of them. Of course, we have no killing innocence. We do have killing for self-defense, as we saw in the previous video. Intoxicants is exactly the same. No lying. I believe that's pretty much everywhere. Yeah, and no stealing also, I believe that's pretty much everywhere. So now let's go on with 5 small habits. I thought it's also pretty interesting. We'll skip a bit through it. You can watch all of these videos. I'll all put them into the description. But yeah, we'll skip a bit through so I can kind of
practice
show you
is
what I've
the
seen.
morning gratitude practice. Now, this is something that we monks practice every single morning. And that is to be thankful for and grateful for everything and every person in our life. So the first thing that I practice is I become thankful for the Buddha in the first step. And also for his teachings, it is called Dharma.
Just a second. So as you see here, the morning gratitude practice reminds me also of Fajr that we have in Islam, which is our morning prayer. You would do it when the first light, but you can't really see it with the eye of the sun starts until like the sun is really up. Then you have the time to pray.
So every single morning, I become thankful for them. And you can become thankful for them as well. And also you can simply be thankful for everything and every experience and every person in our life. And also remember that you can be thankful for bad people as well, right? People who gave you tough times. Why should we become thankful for bad people and the rude people who gave us tough times to our life? Because they are the persons, those are the people who gave us ability to practice the patience and the mental strength, right? Without them, our life would be less interesting, okay? The more we face challenges, the more we face tough times, there's a story for us to tell. So we can be simply thankful for them as well for making our life story more interesting. In that way, The second practice that
I
I want to
think he'll
share with
say it here because actually I just wanted to hear the part why in the morning. But
you
I
today
think
is the morning meditation. Morning meditation is one of the most important practices that we do in our monk's life, right? Why meditate in the morning, especially? Morning is one of the best times to meditate because your mind is so calm and peaceful in that time. And also, your surrounding is calm and peaceful at that time. Okay? So, morning meditations give you a refreshed start to your day. So, as morning meditations, normally we monks practice, first of all, the love and kindness meditation, and some monks practice mindfulness meditation, breathing meditation, and a lot of meditations. So, it depends on your choice what to practice and what not to practice. So, morning meditation is one of the best practices and best things that you can do to start your day with a fresh start.
so, as Muslims, we should also start every morning with the Fajr prayer, which is, as I said, before the sun rises, because I totally agree with him. It is when your mind is calmest. It's also recommended to do Qiyam al-Layl, which is prayer and worshipping during the night. And so, our Fajr prayer starts as every other prayer with Surah Al-Fatiha, the opening surah. And this starts with Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, in the name of Allah, the most compassionate, most merciful. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, which means all praise is to Allah, God of the worlds. But actually, we would also say Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen when we are grateful about something because we receive something or because we have something that we like. And so it starts with gratitude and then it goes on with very good other verses, signs that say to guide us on the right path, etc. I will certainly look into it. It is one of the most important surahs in the Quran because you cannot pray without knowing that one. And we then go on, and the whole procedure of prayer is also to be grateful about everything, to be rightly guided, to set your planning, to calm yourself down, to have this connection with the higher power. Of course, Buddhists I know don't really believe in a God, or at least it's not a necessity to believe in a God. Um, we'll probably look into that later on. But yes, I just wanted to add this side on. So I see many commonalities actually um, between the teachings he's talking about and Islam for myself.
The third practice is journaling. Now, this is something that I do every single day to have a good review on the day, right? What I did during the day and what I forgot to do. And also, I take time to write down all the good things and all the good deeds that I did and simply be happy about it. And also, finally, you can leave some space to write down all the things that you are grateful for in your life. When you write down all the things that you're grateful in your life, and if you do it every single day, it becomes a habit to remember all the good things in your life, all the valuable things in your life, and you will feel much more valuable about your life. So journaling is one of the habits that you can add to your life to make your life more happier and more fulfilling. And the
Well, as I said, I'm way too slow writing to do some journaling. That's why I do the podcast a bit. It's one of the reasons. But also, yes, I personally, for example, when I make dua after praying, this is also praying, I suppose, in English. I'm not quite sure. But you put your hands like this, and yeah, I think it's praying. Um, then also, I personally say what I'm grateful about. I think this is kind of everyone says whatever they want to say. Um, and amongst other things, I will, of course, say what I'm grateful for. Or also the second sujood. You've certainly seen people that pray when we put our face down like this on the ground. Um, then on the second time, it is actually, you can say whatever you want to say. Um, and so you can establish that private conversation with God in that moment. And then also is a good occasion for me to be grateful, to set new goals, to say what I'm wanting. And this is something I've always taught, that even only from a mental perspective, again, with my example of smoking, it can be whatever, but let's say you want to stop smoking. If you don't take your time to even think about the fact that you want to stop smoking, maybe you don't even know it, you know, and you would give yourself the room to ask for things you want to change, and you would notice yourself asking often that you want to stop smoking, then it's kind of manifesting also. Like you know yourself what you want, and this is what happens. It's another way of seeing it. I don't think I, of course, believe in Allah, and I believe that He hears our prayers and He helps us. But as I said, not excluding that He exists, but maybe it is also the underlying codes. Maybe simply doing some prayers will allow you to get some results just by doing them.
The fourth practice is mindful eating. Now, this is one practice that we monks do almost every single day. Normally, as monks, we all only have 2 meals per day, and in some monasteries, some monks have only 1 meal per day. So while we are having our meals, we become mindful and we focus our mind on the food that we are taking. Right?
Exactly. And as a Muslim, also, we are taught, first of all, when we drink, um, whatever we drink, to take 3 sips and to not tuk, 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 tuk from the beginning. I have a hard time sometimes to think about that. But yeah, we're all learning, and most of the times I can do it. And so before every time we drink or eat, we say Bismillah, which means in the name of God. So now we'll get just a little excursion. I found this video of that guy, Martin K. Peterson, former Buddhist monk. And I don't know, I've not watched many videos of him. No, I've only watched that video. But I really enjoyed it. It was pretty fun. If you have time, watch it if you're interested into it. I kind of felt like if you've watched it in How I Met Your Mother, because first of all, he reminds me a little bit of Ted Mosby, and he's like really just telling his whole life story over here. But super good story, super interesting, and for me, like it's just what I needed, because actually I was thinking that I also am interested in this kind of spiritual experiences, meditation, and everything. Of course, I would pray also at the same time, but Islam, as far as I know, does not exclude um, meditating and taking some time to get in connection with nature or whatever. And I just thought, like, let's check out somebody who did it. And so I came on to that video. As I said, the old video is very interesting, but I'll just play you this little part, which was the main takeaway I took for my own interest. So yeah, let's look into it.
If one of your children or relatives becomes a monk, that's like the biggest gift you can give, kind of, is to give away one of your children to the Dhamma, to the truth, to the Sangha, to make sure that the Buddhism lives on, kind of. And I was so like hyped up. I'm like, oh yes, this is awesome. This is gonna be cool. I'm gonna be a monk and I'm gonna learn all these things and I'm gonna help the world. I'm gonna save everyone. And then rather quickly I noticed something, that many monks, what I wanted to do then, and many monks also did, was that, okay, I want a bigger center. I want more people to become Buddhist. I need to help more people learn how to meditate. I need to help more people become whatever they want to become. And they didn't want financial or like relationship success. They wanted to do success in Buddhism, whatever that meant. And I got like, I've done this before, haven't I? Like, this is just the same thing I did before. Sure, they lived in celibacy, they didn't drink, we only ate breakfast in the mornings, and before 12 o'clock you have to eat breakfast. And we'd sing these holy chants, morning, lunch, and dinner. But again, I was born and raised as an atheist, so for me, like, I don't know if they're holy. Like, that was not really why I became a monk. I didn't become a monk because...
So yeah, so actually, it's not to shed any bad light on Buddhism or anything. It's just that I thought, first of all, that his storytelling was funny in general, the whole video. And secondly, so he actually tried it out, and I respect that. And also that, of course, he met just some individual monks. First of all, there are certainly other monks who do it differently. Secondly, even if all would do it that way, I mean, it's better to help out as many people as they can and start this business orientated way of having a bigger center to help out people rather than generating as much money as you can for an egoistical purpose. But yeah, it still has these structural vibes, and you set yourself goals, etc. So it's all that you get back into the dukkha, to use Buddhist terms, which is the pain, which is like you set yourself goals and you cannot reach them, etc. Yeah, just nice, interesting share. And now I'll look into that. I don't believe he's a representative, but I just stumbled upon that video. So he's answering the reasons Buddhists do not believe in God. Actually, there is a saying, as far as I know, or a little story where Gautama, Siddhartha Gautama, which is the actual Buddha, because Buddha means the enlightened one. This is just a word. It's like with the Arabic. I think this is also a similarity. I like it because they explain many words, and actually so many words that one would just know and hear and think this is something. In Arabic, it's just the word for whatever it describes, you see. And so Buddha is the enlightened one. Nirvana, as far as I know, is like to extinguish. For example, this is when you extinguish yourself from all the pain and everything. Dukkha, I don't know if I've explained it, is the pain that you want to extinguish. Yeah, so there are many things, of course. And another similarity with Islam, which I want to quickly add, is that the Buddhists also claim to have had an oral tradition and that their scriptures only got written down in the first century of the Common Era. So I don't know how much it's preserved, but I'm just going to stick to the facts that I know, all facts. And according to the legends, Siddhartha Gautama was a Hindu prince, and then he left his kingdom until he went through his adventures, and with the time he started to have more followings and people asking him for advice because he seemed so enlightened, he seemed so relaxed also in this life. And there came a person who has worshipped God his whole life and he just needed certainty, so he went and asked him, tell me, is there God? And he told him, no, there is no God. And so later on, a person came who was atheist his whole life and told everybody that there is no God, and he was still a bit unsure, so he went and asked him, is there a God? And then he told him, yes, there is a God. One of his disciples who witnessed everything later on had to ask him, because he couldn't sleep, why did you tell two different things to these men? And so Siddhartha apparently told him that he just told them what they needed to know to make the journey to discover themselves. And this whole thing just explains us that he didn't really deal with the fact if there is a God or no. When you read about Buddhism, it seems pretty clear that they believe there is no God, even though it's not what I have understood with my current knowledge. What I understood is just that he didn't deal with that. He didn't exclude it. He didn't say that it is the case. He just kind of said that he deals with what he knows, and this is how we work as human beings, which he could discover through his meditations. Of course, Buddhism is also very close to Hinduism because he was, according to the legend, a Hindu prince. So they also have the aspect of being reborn. Simply that apparently they don't have gods in general in their creation story. And now we'll look into what this young man has to say about why there would be no gods in Buddhism.
If I'm being honest, generally when people ask me that question, what they're really asking is, do Buddhists believe in a creator deity? Do we believe that there is one entity that created the universe? And by extension, the heavens and the earth. And to this, I have to answer no. Buddhists do not believe in a creator deity. And there are 3 reasons for this. The first one is fairly simple. Something cannot come from nothing. And because something, that is, the universe, exists, the only logical explanation would be that something, the universe, has always existed.
I'll take his word for it that it is that way for now. I'll give my comment later on because I need to hear what he has to say more.
Now, of course, this doesn't mean that the universe has always been in the state it is now. It, like us, goes through cycles of death and rebirth. So there were probably iterations of our universe that only lasted a few seconds before collapsing in on themselves. And there were iterations before that that were positively bursting with life. Hardly any empty space. And of course, everything in between. Something cannot come from nothing, therefore something has always existed. To believe otherwise is to believe that one, the universe simply sprang out of nothingness randomly, or
So far, I agree. Something cannot come out of nothing, and I don't believe that something sprang out of nothingness, but I believe now he will address what I believe.
that there was a God who created the universe. But believing that a God created the universe gives us a couple problems. First, we have to ask, well, who or what created that God, going back into an infinite regress. Also, we have to ask ourselves, what did that God use to create our universe? If we believe it created something out of nothing, well, then that violates the law we discussed earlier. And if we believe that it created the universe out of something, well, that means the universe was already here, and that deity didn't create it so much as it reshaped it.
Wait a minute. So I don't kind of understand why. To me, the universe, why this is not possible, in my opinion, is because we can observe pretty much the universe, and we see that it is kind of a passive entity, if I can put it that way. It's not, there is consciousness within the universe, but itself does not seem, to my understanding, really conscious or not able to create itself. So he says it has always been. But as soon as we would say that there is a God, then he needs to know who created that God, and then it would go into infinite regress. But when we talk only about the universe, then he does not need to know who created the universe. To me, it seems kind of, this is just my opinion, it seems more logical that there is a God, because I kind of can observe the nature and the universe, and looking at it, I do not feel like it would be able to create itself. So, as I already addressed it, to me it makes more sense that there would be a God who creates this universe than the universe being always there. Because if the universe can be always there, if you can believe that, you can also believe that the God was always there. And then we come back to my first video, which I already talked about it. Yeah, okay, you get into infinite regress, but at some point you'll have to put a stop, and then you will just have some entity that always has been there, and so you might as well just put it down until you have only one, and no need to make an infinite deity who created a deity, because we don't know, and it changes nothing to the fact that there needs to be an ultimate deity. So yeah, I already talked about that, but I don't get why, when the universe always existed, this is okay, but then that a God always existed, this is not okay. Okay.
Now, the second reason that Buddhists do not believe in a creator deity is, well, which one? There are literally hundreds of deities who make the claim to have created the heavens and the earth. There's Yahweh, there's Brahma, there's Ra, Quetzalcoatl. I believe Shiva is also a creator deity. And they can't all be correct. So it's the Buddhist position that they're simply mistaken. They're gods, they're arrogant, they're old. They may honestly believe that they created the universe, but it's highly, highly unlikely. Everyone's origin story can't be correct, and we have no way of determining which one is correct. Is Quetzalcoatl incorrect, or is Ra incorrect? So, we just wash our hands of the whole thing. Again, they're gods, they're arrogant, they made a mistake. The third reason that Buddhists do not believe in creator deities is...
Wait a minute. So, okay, I'm conscious, and I strongly suppose that this is just his own opinion. It's not the general standing point. Actually, if you take the time, there is a way to determine, or you can at least try to determine which one is correct. We've not looked into Quetzalcoatl Quetzalcoatl, it's so hard, even how it's written, that word, but it is the feathered serpent of the Mayas that he's talking about. Ra is also an Egyptian god. There is a way of determining which is right or which not, and which makes the most sense. We'll look into that. That's what we're going to try to do. It's what I'm trying to do, actually. And yeah, so yeah, you cannot just put everything. I think as soon as we will look into these legends of Quetzalcoatl and all of this, it will be pretty clear, pretty fast, why this cannot be. And with Islam, I haven't yet found the real thing, like this is the reason why it cannot be. So yeah,
because
that's my
it's
position for
our
now.
position that an entity cannot create something outside of its own nature. So, for example, an acorn can only give birth to an oak tree. We can't grow tomatoes from an acorn because that's not in accordance with its acorn nature. Similarly, if I put a rooster outside with my hens and they fertilize eggs, those eggs will hatch baby chickens, but they won't hatch baby ducks. Chickens only create more chickens, oak trees only create more oak trees, etc. So if we're talking about an eternal, all-powerful entity, what we would expect is that for it would create more eternal, all-powerful entities. To use another example, I can create things.
Okay, it just reminded me also of his first point where he said it's not possible that um, a creator could create something out of nothing because this does not match with our logic. And now again, it's our position, his position, that uh, everything can only create itself, kind of, because in this universe, this rule seems to be that way, which I might just say half a fair point, because I think even following that logic, God is outside of that logic, so it doesn't change anything, even if that was true. And even within our world, I would suppose that things cannot create more than themselves, even though they can, if we talk about technology and everything, maybe lives longer than a human being and everything. So I don't even want to go into these thoughts. But yeah, overall, I think that you can, of course, you can create things which are at least less than you. Of course.
With my hands out of wood, the shelves behind me, tables, chairs, etc. But because I am of a nature to be born, to grow old, get sick, and die, anything I create with my hands will also be of a nature to be born, to grow old, to get sick, and to die. So gods can only create other gods, and eternal beings can only create more eternal beings. Anything else would be to suggest that entities can create things outside of their natures, and that's just not something we notice or see when we look at the world. So, for the three reasons I just gave, that something cannot come from nothing, that there are multiple creator deities, so-called, making the same claim, and because entities cannot create something outside of their nature, we as Buddhists believe in gods, but we don't believe in creator gods. Amitabha.
Okay, well, thanks for sharing. If you want to have that hold that position, you are of course allowed to hold that position. I personally, it didn't convince me at all, not even a tiny bit, because yeah, he just kind of set the rules as if he was the one setting the rules, but he's not. He's clearly not the one setting the rules. I mean, no human is the one setting the rules. This is not possible. We are not deciding what God has to follow and what not. So this does not convince me at all. And to me, it just makes more sense that instead of a universe that has always been, to have a creator that has always been and created the universe. Yeah, so this was the little ending. I hope you'll learn a bit something about Buddhism and everything. Myself, I don't know so much about Buddhism, but I'm very interested and will hopefully, inshallah, talk to somebody really representative of that faith so I can make the difference of what is in the scriptures. I like to always know what is in the scriptures. I don't really care about what human beings say, even though I'm a human being saying things out of scriptures. But I do care what human beings say, but I don't take it as like the main authority, right? So yeah, I created that. Inshallah, I want to fill it up with all different faiths and everything that we can look into. And so here we have Buddhism. For now, I have put this into it. Virtues being generous, meditation, discipline, being in the present, belief. They don't believe in a God necessarily. Focus on oneself. I'm curious about the preservation, which I want to ask a professional Buddhist, if I can say it that way. But yeah, like a true believer in the faith who can represent it. And I'm curious about controversial themes, like how men and women are in this religion, and what about wars, which I can hopefully look into, but ideally with someone belonging to the faith who has knowledge, so I don't have like things out of the context. And then sins are clearly no killing, no stealing, no pleasure chasing, no pleasure chasing, like by sexual intercourse out of marriage. As I said, celibacy is preferred. This is different from Islam. For us, celibacy is not preferred. You just have to marry, and then you're free to do whatever you want, almost. And no intoxicants. It's very similar to Islam. No lying, no bad speech, no backbiting. So yeah, it was a very interesting journey. I hope you could learn something, and see you next time.